Okay. First of all, I agree completely with Bernie.
Rodney, we're here, the Democratic presidential debate. This is part two because there's 20 candidates. There's just too much floor space and just very little time. So part two tonight. The first part had Elizabeth Warren, Cory Booker, New York Governor Bill de Blasio. We've had Ryan from Ohio last night, who I thought was really impressive. I mean, Cory Booker's a shill who voted against importing cheaper drugs, so he's a pharmaceutical shill, but he did pretty well last night. I got to give him that. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Kayana? How you doing? I'd say France because of all the outrage that's been happening recently. I'd go with France tomorrow. I hope they win. Could go either way, but I'll probably go with the host to win.
I wrote a part in Senator Sanders' bill. I wrote the part in Senator Sanders' bill that is the transition, which merges
Christian
what the two
Gillibrand.
senators said. The truth is, if you have a buy-in,
Only two people matter tonight: Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren. These are your big three: Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris. Those three are the only ones that matter. The rest, if I get 15 minutes of fame in their next book deal. Right?
Why not?
Right?
Sure. So, college affordability is
Right, Kayana?
Jesse,
Yes.
6
Say
figures.
hi.
Reducing student debt.
That's my roommate Scott here. He's gone right now.
Refinance your house. You ought to be able to refinance your student debt. I also believe in free college.
Good video topic is Pete Buttigieg, the first homosexual candidate, the first open one at least. And, Mike Pence is from his home state of Indiana, so got to look into Buttigieg. I'd like to show you why. I can do a whole video of the whole Democratic field, why these people are all in the competition here. And you'd be really interested. If I went through 1 through 20, and
yes, it needs to be more affordable in this country to go to college. It also needs to be more affordable in this country to not go to college. You should be able to live well, afford rent, be generous to your church and Little League, whether you went to college or not. That's one of many reasons we need to raise
less billionaires
to at least $15 an hour. Well, I've got $100,000 in student loan debt myself.
less billionaires.
And I can't count on the people who've been in government for the last 30 years who were around when this problem was created to be the ones to solve it. It's going to be the next generation.
We're fucked, obviously, if the Republicans win. Democrats have to repeal the tax law. They'll make things temporary, and then we'll just reverse it and fuck things up. Fix. Endless cycle of fucking things up and fixing it.
Every adult in the United
Democrats just go along with this.
$1,000 a month, no questions asked. That's right. And I think that's like $3.2 trillion a year. How would you do that? Sorry, how would you do that?
So it's difficult to do if you have companies like Amazon, trillion-dollar tech companies paying literally zero in taxes, while they're funding 30% of our schools. Now, we need to put the American people in position to benefit from all these innovations in other parts of the economy. And if we had,
I like Andrew Yang a lot.
At the European level, it would generate
Just really great ideas. Universal basic income we're going to need in America one day. We're going to need it. Too much money is going to the top of the pyramid. Universal basic income can stimulate the economy.
Stronger and healthier. We'd save money on things like incarceration, homelessness services, emergency room health care, and just the value gains from having a stronger, healthier, mentally healthier population would increase GDP by $700 billion. This is the move that we have to make, particularly as technology is now automating away millions of American jobs. It's why Donald Trump is our president today, that we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs in Michigan, Ohio.
We need a new Green Deal that can create renewable energy jobs in the South. This is why Trump's campaign is all fraud. The only way we create jobs in the South in these economically devastated areas is to begin the new Green Deal and to start producing alternative sources of energy here in America.
value-added tax would end up, you still.
Steve is just full of fake news. I mean, Donald Trump is done. Trump was here to fuck things up, obviously. I'll give you that. He's doing a good job of helping out the elites, but he's not going to win. He doesn't even want to serve a full term. He wants to go back to that old life if he makes it before someone shoots him, which probably is going to happen anyways. This guy's going to be dead within 4 years. I no doubt about it.
They need to adapt to this new world.
We must always be a country where technology creates more jobs than it displaces. I've seen the anxiety across America where manufacturing floors go from 1,000 to 100.
Well, they're all paid puppets. They're all controlled by AIPAC, the bankers and military-industrial complex, the Pentagon. It's all a structured pyramid of the elites that control these people.
I was 6 years old when the
Pentagon could be more powerful than the president. People that wield Federal Reserve policy have more power over the president. Your national bankers do. Chancellor of Germany is probably more powerful than the president.
If we're going to solve the issues of automation, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issues of climate chaos, pass the torch. If we're going to solve the issue of student loan debt, pass the torch. If we're going to end gun violence for families who are fearful of sending their kids to school, pass the torch.
Vice President, would you like to sing a torch?
I'm still holding on to that torch. I want to make it clear to you, look, the fact of the matter is, what we have to do is make sure that everybody is prepared better to go on to education.
Why did this whole debate run up begin at Miami? Number one, that's a swing state. Number two, it's Miami that equals 45. The 45th president's in the White House right now. So that's why first debate is held at Miami, Florida. Here's the bitch here. She's a loser. I'm the only numerologist who predicted the Warriors if they would win the three-peat. You don't have a life. You don't have any attention. Leave this to the adults here. We could have proper attention span. We can pay attention to a real debate.
No interest payment until they get beyond that.
Joe Biden's corporate shill.
Where they aren't able to go on and move
He's a fraud. He voted for Iraq. He voted for the Patriot Act. Kamal's a fraud who's not real about criminal justice reform and all of that. She just makes things worse and whatnot. She sucks. Cory Booker's against importing cheaper drugs. There are many fascists. There are many center-right fascists on this stage over there. There are many corporate-leaning Republicans on the stage today. So many frauds. The thing with Elizabeth is that she's for real, but she said that she was going to take super PAC money. So are we going to have any legal change over 8 years? I don't know. We're going to make it worse, and they're tanking all. They're paving the way towards authoritarian socialism, not real socialism like they have in Europe, but the state capitalism where the guys at the top run the show. It wasn't even real socialism over at the USSR or whatnot, or in China. That was state capitalism. The billionaires are going to monopoly power like they do in Russia. Good. Diana. You like my mug there. Okay.
Part of the issue that is at play in America today, and we've all been traveling around the country, I certainly have. I'm meeting people who are working 2 and 3 jobs. You know, this president walks around talking about and flouting his great economy, right? My great economy, my
The only way they return good paying jobs is to a new Green Deal.
And he talks about the stock market. Well, that's fine if you own stocks. So many families in America do not. You ask them, how are you measuring this great
Who's Scott?
economy of yours? And they point to the job of those numbers. And
I like the Dodgers in baseball. Okay, Dodgers in baseball. That's my pick.
In our America, no one should have to work more than
Kamala Harris is number 2. Okay. So let me type this in here. Drop.
And this is going to be a show of hands question. We asked a question about healthcare last night at Spur.
So it's Trump in California that equal 88. Kamala Harris is from California. She's totally going to be there all the way until the very end of the Democratic nomination. However, even though Kamala is from California, even though California equals 88, it is Elizabeth that equals 88. So here I've got Elizabeth equaling
So the plan that Senator
88.
Sanders and I and others support Medicare for all.
Sanders,
is how you
no
get
shot,
single payer.
right?
It has a buy-in transition
But
period.
Sanders going to be in there. Sanders going to be the guy that's going to drop out and maybe be someone's VP pick.
I actually ran on Medicare for all, and I won that 2-1 Republican district twice. And the way I formulated it was simple. Anyone who doesn't have access to insurance they like, they could buy in a percentage.
She
of income
takes-
they can afford.
She has these
So
big
that's what we put in
billionaire
transition period
fundraisers.
for,
Kirsten
Medicare for all.
Gillibrand. She's got those billionaire fundraisers.
It's a right, not a privilege, to single
She's
payer.
another one of these
The
frauds,
quickest way to
man.
get there is you create competition with the insurers. God bless the insurers. If they want to compete, they can certainly try. But they've never-
God bless the insurers. You see, keep the insurance companies in power. Keep these people in power.
Choose Medicare, you will transition, we will get to Medicare for all, and then your step.
Private corporations get a monopoly over affordable health care. Don't let the corporate propaganda fool you guys. Healthcare has been rising ever since there was such thing as Obamacare. Everything's not been going up ever since Obamacare. That's not what's been happening in America. Still paid more than any other country out there, even before 2008.
Has a responsibility to explain
But
how
these
you're actually supposed to get
Insurance
your-
companies, they have a vice-like grip
Here's how I would do it.
over real fundamental change.
I would call it Medicare for all who want it. You take something like Medicare, a flavor of that, you make it available on the exchanges, people can buy in, and then if people like us are right, that will be not only a more inclusive plan, but a more efficient plan than any of the corporate answers out there, then it will be a very natural glide path to the single payer environment. But let's remember, even in countries that have outright socialized medicine, like England, even there's still a private sector, that's fine. It's just that for our primary care, we can't be relying on the tender mercies of the corporate system. This one's very personal. I started out this year dealing with the terminal illness of my father. I make decisions for a living, and nothing could have prepared me for the kind of decisions our family faced. But the thing we had going for us was that we never had to make those decisions based on whether it was going to bankrupt our family because of Medicare. And I want every family to have that same freedom to do what is medically right.
Well, you can't be really free if you had to choose between being bankrupt or
This is very personal.
footing the bill. I mean, or not footing the bill at all. Going bankrupt or footing the bill, and that's what libertarians and far-right fascists call freedom in this country.
Then, when my son came home from Iraq after a year, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was given months to live. I can't fathom what would have happened if, in fact, they said, by the way, the last 6 months of your life, you're on your own. We're cutting off. You've used up your time. The fact of the matter is that the quickest, fastest way to do it is build on Obamacare, to build on what we did. And secondly, to make sure that everyone does have an option. Everyone, whether they have private insurance, employer insurance, or no insurance, they in fact can buy in the exchange to a Medicare-led plan. And the way to do that, you can do it quickly. Look, urgency matters. There's people right now facing what I've faced and what we've faced without any of the help I had. We must move now. I'm against any Democrat who opposes that takes down Obamacare and any Republican who wants to get rid of it.
Let me turn to Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders, you basically want to scrap the private health insurance system as we know it and replace it with a government-run plan. None of the states that have tried something like that, California, Vermont, New York, has struggled with it, have been successful. If politicians can't make it work in those
Well,
states,
that was really slanted right away.
how does this work?
They have been successful in a way, but obviously not every system is perfect. Slanted by the corporate media.
Including my neighbor 50 miles north of me, Canada, somehow has figured out a way to provide health care to every man, woman, and child. And in most cases, they're spending 50% per capita what we are spending. Let's be clear. Let us be very clear. The function of health care today, from the insurance and drug company perspective, is not to provide quality care to all. in the
Make
population.
profit!
The function of the
Profit!
health system today is to make billions in profits for the insurance companies.
Exactly.
And last year, if you could believe it,
This broke system, you don't have to pay for healthcare. Hey, someone else can foot the bill.
Prescription drug prices in half in this country. Top 10 companies make 69.
Everybody pays in. That's Medicare for all. Don't let corporate propaganda and these parasites tell you what's up. They don't know. The only thing that's up to them is their bottom line, which is their big fat pockets. Don't listen to the propaganda being put out by the billionaires that have stock in the insurance industry because they want to make more money for themselves.
We'll do it the way real change has always taken place. Whether it was the labor movement, the civil rights movement, or the women's movement. We will have Medicare for all.
Medicare for all! That's what we need, Bernie! Go!
And tell the insurance companies and the drug companies that their day is gone.
It's over! That's right! They're gonna screw over Bernie! That's what they're gonna do there! They're gonna screw over him! He's a threat to them!
Excuse me, I'm addressing the question, Ms. Williams, we've been talking a lot about access.
Bernie just blows Ron Paul out of there any day of the week. Ron Paul the cop. Oh, they can spend whatever money they want. Money is speech. Money is speech. It's not influence.
By which multinational corporations have their way with us.
Interesting, an author. What's an author doing on stage?
Senator Bennett and others, but I agree with almost everything here. I'll tell you one thing. It's really nice if we got all these plans, but if you think we're going to beat Donald Trump by just having all these plans, you got another thing coming. Because he didn't win by saying he had a plan. He won by simply saying, make America great again. We've got to get deeper than just these superficial fixes, as important as they are.
Go beyond the slogans, not these uneducated trash out there that buy out Trump's hyperbole, his slogans out there, make America great, it's the Mexicans, and oh, it's not the men in suits. Big agent for Vladimir in the deep state.
What we need to talk about is why so many Americans have unnecessary.
A deep state puppet of Trump, a Manchurian president. He'll be the reason for World War III. Donald Trump. And the dirt that the Russians have on him. Deep state is controlling both Russia and the United States. Vladimir Putin's regime, as well as the American regime that they have in office right now. Donald Trump's daughter converted to Judaism. Kushner is Jewish, so that's where the Zionist influence comes through for the Trump administration and whatnot to this day.
And I feel very strongly that families ought to be able to have this choice. I think that's what the American people want. I believe it will get us there quickly. There are millions of people in America that do not have health insurance today because they can't. They're too wealthy. They make too much money to be on Medicaid. They can't afford health insurance. When Senator Sanders says that Canada is single payer, there are 35 million people in Canada.
They don't make enough to qualify for Medicare.
Easily the number of people on a public option that it could easily be 35 million. And for them it would be Medicare for all, as Mayor Buttigieg says, but for others who want to keep it, they should be able to keep it. And I think that will be the fastest way to get where we need to go. Also, I will say, Bernie is a very honest person. He has said over and over again, unlike others that have supported this legislation, over and over again, that this will make illegal all insurance except cosmetic, except insurance for, I guess that's for plastic surgery. Everything else
insurance is a scam. It truly is. Renters insurance or whatnot. The bottom line is that surplus is not given back to the people who pay insurance. It feeds into their pockets. Insurance is a scam. A scam. Think of it in terms of what happens to the surplus. It doesn't go back to the people who paid into insurance. It goes right into the company's back pocket.
We will substantially lower the cost of healthcare in this country because we'll stop the greed of the insurance companies.
And Bernie is for the importation of cheaper drugs. He's with some free market Republicans on this. He wants to bring in cheaper drugs from other countries that the pharmaceutical companies trying to control, start trying to price gouge.
There is, any night in America, a parent who's seeing that their child has a temperature that is out of control, calls 911, what should I do? And they say, take the child to the emergency room. And so they give them their car. and they drive and they're sitting in the parking lot outside of the emergency room, looking at those sliding glass doors while they have the hand on the forehead of their child, knowing that if they walk through those sliding glass doors, even though they have insurance, they will be out a $5,000 deductible when they walk through those doors. That's what insurance companies are doing.
It should be a matter of, can I afford it? I mean, that's just really twisted.
My last parents, I was just in the emergency room, and I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, because he's a big threat to the establishment, but it has nothing to do with his age. Unless if you're a member of the corporate media, then of course you're going to bring up his age. If you're a member of the billionaires that control the media, then, oh, he can't run for president. He's too old, yada, yada, yada. He has enough energy to run for president to speak with that much conviction that he is today. So don't tell me that Bernie is too old to be president. Age is just a number. That's all it is. It's about the guy and his ideas. Bernie's a man, but I know he ain't going to win because corporate America is going to rig it against him like they did in 2016. Bernie Sanders was the real winner of the 2016 election. Is nowhere in hell close to being Donald Trump.
And remember, we're talking about something people are getting given a chance to buy into.
It was Donald Trump and the center-right Republican Hillary Clinton.
They pay sales taxes.
Oh, communist socialist Hillary Clinton is just a center-right Republican.
This is an insurance program, and we do ourselves no favors by having 11 million undocumented people in our country be unable to access healthcare. But of course, the real problem is we shouldn't have 11 million undocumented people with no pathway to citizenship. It makes no sense. And the American people agree on what to do. This is a crazy thing. If leadership consists of forming a consensus around a divisive issue, this White House has divided us around a consensus issue. The American people want a pathway to citizenship. They want protections for dreamers. We need to clean up the lawful immigration system, like how my
I've said so back in 2017, my brother. I'll provide you the video.
Measures are needed at the border, but Washington can't deliver on something the American people want. What does that tell you about the system we're living in? It tells you we need profound structural reform.
Vice President Biden, I believe you said that your health care plan would not cover undocumented immigrants. Could you explain your position?
I'm sorry, I beg your pardon.
I believe with the show of hands, you did not.
Never mind the spelling there. I'm holding.
Did you raise your hand?
Okay.
Sorry. So you said that it would be covered under your plan, which is different than Obamacare.
Yes, but here's
Can
the
you
thing.
explain that change?
Yes, you cannot let, as the mayor said, you cannot let people who are sick, no matter where they come from, no matter what their status, go uncovered. You can't do that. It's just going to be taken care of, period. You have to.
A couple of videos will be released tomorrow morning.
The deal is that
LeBron number 6, Delic, and Gianluigi Buffon to Juventus. Big football and basketball stuff coming our way tomorrow morning.
That's what they're doing. It's increase the lifespan. They would do the same thing in terms of reducing the overall cost of healthcare by them being able to be treated and not
go away, man. Just go away. Go away, Joe.
We can deal with the insurance companies by, number one, putting insurance executives in jail for the misleading advertising, what they're doing on opioids, what they're doing paying doctors to prescribe.
The whole thing with the Sacklers and Oxycontin is just so sick. A bunch of multi-billionaires are just too big to get in trouble like that. Hey, what's up, man? I'm ready for the rigged election. I'm ready for the rigged first female president. I mean, 2020, right? Same number. And we talk about sex chromosomes. XY 2020. Exactly. First time in American history that we've had an election fall on two sets of same numbers, 20 and 20. Well, the two sexes in the two chromosomes in the male-female sex pairing. Female chromosomes got two X's. Those are the same letter. And then 20 has the same number. So that's how I know it's going to be a woman. Now, Gematria says that it is. It's woman. that equals 21. And the thing about that is that 21 is inauguration. Year 21 is when the inauguration is going to happen. 2021. And that female is going to be Elizabeth. We are going to see the crash coming. They're already predicting the recession. I said 2019. It may be right on the mark. It may be in the next year, but all of this is happening right before the 59th election. Stock market crash equals 59. And I'd really hope for a landslide, but when we're so full of, we're just so polarized and we're so extremely partisan that's like impossible to think of. But when I think about Elizabeth Warren creating the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that was to prevent corporate America from causing another crash. The bankers that do anything they can to rip over consumers without regulation, and that includes the selling of these third-party derivatives in which people don't assume the risk to. Even when they pass it on to someone else, they don't assume the risk.
The southern border. Many of them are being detained, including small children, in private detention centers in Florida and
I'm
throughout.
really curious about the
Also, the
whole
candidates on this state
detention
say
center
conditions of
thing.
these facilities
I mean, I'm really
are abhorrent.
curious about
On
that.
January 20th, 2020,
I need to get
former
the
president,
pen here.
what
Let me get the
specifically would you do
let me get the pen here.
who try to reach the United States every day
LeBron against Kawhi.
and want a better life through
King
asylum?
James gonna take the crown from Kawhi in the NBA Finals. I predicted this back in March, by the way.
First of all,
Back in
can
March.
I put our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there.
Ah, there it
I will
is.
Immediately by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people. I will further.
I will turn on some light here when it gets close to dark. It's 6:38, so in a couple hours.
And who served our country and fought for our democracy.
I gotta start my load again.
In place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum. I will release children from cages. I will get rid of the private detention centers, and I will ensure that this microphone that the President of the United States holds in her hand is used in a way that is about reflecting the values of our country and not about locking children up, separating them from their parents. And I have to just say that we have to think about this issue.
Okay, I just had to
Real people
start my load again.
who pays a coyote to transport her child through their country of origin, through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril to come here. Why would that mother do that? I will tell you. Because she has decided
Fix
that
Central America and
where they
whatnot, but
are
then
is worse.
these leaders are just
But what
so
does Donald
corrupt and
Trump
whatnot.
do?
It's
He says, go back to where you came from. That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's gotta end.
Governor Hickenlooper, day one, if you are day one at the White House, how do you respond?
With these children?
Let me get to you in
I
just a
just
second.
graduated and
Governor,
I'm a manager
thousands
in retail right
men,
now.
women, and children across the
I'm
border
a
asking
manager
for asylum
over
for a
at
better life.
Macy's, and I happen
What
to
do you
be
do?
off today.
Day one,
And
hour.
I'm able to see this
Certainly the
debate,
images
which is
we've
pretty
seen this
nice,
week
and
just
that's what I'm here to do
compound the
right now.
emotional impact that the world is judging us by.
Though that's a
If you'd ever
delusional
told me any time in
fantasy
my
that
life that
Donald Trump's going to get elected.
this country would sanction federal
Oh, he is.
agents to
You got to be
take children
retarded
from
if
the
you think
arms
he's
of their
going to win
parents,
again.
Put them in cages,
Only a retard would think Donald
actually
Trump's
put them
going to win
up
again.
for adoption.
Like,
In Colorado,
their head is
we call that
completely up
kidnapping.
their ass.
I
They
would've
think
told
Donald
you-
Trump's going to win again. And that's how delusional these people are. Non-voters decided the 2016 election because they equally disliked Hillary as much as they disliked Donald Trump. But the people are going to like Elizabeth Warren much more than they did with Hillary. That's an easy victory. No war can save the Republican Party this time. Not like it did with George W. Bush.
And they begin looking at their job in a humanitarian way. where
Trump
they're
really
addressing
pushes tariffs
full
on
needs
to
of
the rest of the
people
world.
that are
engage with
If
the
this guy gets more unhinged by the day and Putin has his marching orders so he can receive grain exports from China, then he certainly will. Every single move with Donald Trump is being orchestrated with Vladimir Putin on a day-to-day basis. This is why he said it was not the American people's business to know what happened with the secret meetings with Vladimir Putin. Oh, no collusion, no collusion. Russia started influencing the election. Russia did influence my vote. If you're on Twitter, you're on social media, and you see these random profiles say some pro-Trump, anti-Hillary message, then you got conned by these Russia bots. That's called cyber warfare. Influence elections. If we do this to every country in the world, then why can't another country do this to America? And this ain't fake news.
I have great respect for everyone who is on this stage, but we're going to talk about what to do about healthcare. Well, where have you been, guys? Because if it's not just a matter of a plan, and I haven't heard anybody on this stage who has talked about American foreign policy in Latin America and how we might have in the last few decades contributed to something.
Senator Gillibrand, what would you do as president?
Yeah, I like that author.
Well, one of the
pretty
worst
cool.
things about President Trump that he's done to this country is he's torn apart the moral fabric of who we are.
I'll do a whole gematria thing. I'll enter the names.
The fact that 7
That's
children
fucking
have
retarded.
died
You gotta be an idiot if you think he's gonna win. Giving taxes to the wealthy and exploiting our deficits and having record spending in the government? Where the hell do you people come from? You people, your head is stuffed in sports all the time. And you fucking dumbasses don't know what the hell is happening with Donald Trump today, and you still think he's doing a great job. He is not doing a great job. He is ruining the economy right now. We are borrowing from the Treasury. He's giving billionaires tax breaks. He's trying to cut health care for millions of people. He's had no wall, no Trump care, no Obama repeal, no America feed ISIS in 30 days. This guy is a fraud. This guy has failed to pay back workers, employers, and suppliers, and you dum-dums still think Donald Trump is doing a great job. Non-voters stayed home and didn't even vote for Donald Trump. Mitt Romney had a higher percentage of the vote than Donald Trump. 47 is greater than 46. But yet you people in your delusional right-wing bubble think this guy's going to win the election again. Are you people that deluded? Repeal the Clean Air and Water Act. Roll back bank regulations. You see, everything is for the billionaire class. More and more and more and more money. Greed is good, says Milton Friedman. This is a living reenactment of Ronald Reagan's economic policy. We're going to have to increase taxes on the rich to bring down the deficit again. So we're not paying the bankers' interest, which is what the Republican Party is all about. Borrow, and spend.
Putting children in cages has lost all claim to ever
Making no sense. 45. 46 presidents a Democrat. The Simpsons. Hey, we have a debt problem. Female president, Lisa Simpson.
That's the first thing I would do.
Hello? Simpsons is telling you what's going to happen.
Billions of dollars worth of help to the region immediately. Look, I talk about
where do they get those Republicans from?
We got a bipartisan agreement at the very end of the campaign, at the very end of our term, to spend $740 million to deal with the problem. And that was to go to the root cause of why people are in the first place. It was working. We saw, as you know, a net decrease in the number of children were coming. The crisis was abating. And along came this president, he said he immediately discontinued that. We all talk about these things. I did it. $740 million. Second thing we have to do. The law now requires the reuniting of those families. We would reunite those families, period. And if not, we put those children in a circumstance where they were safe until we could find their parents. And lastly, the idea that he's in court with his Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush. That is outrageous.
Vice President, the Obama-Biden administration was the Obama-Biden administration.
Brazil and
deported
Paraguay still
3
tied. What the
million
hell?
Americans. My question to you is if an
All right.
individual is living in the United
November the
States of America
3rd,
without documents,
You got another one.
that is his only offense.
November
Should that
3rd,
person
11-3.
be deported?
Depending if they committed
So this is a
major
method
crime,
that
they should be
we
deported.
use for
And the president was
2016.
President Obama, I think, did
It's
a
very
heck of a job.
effective.
Compare him to what this guy's
That's
doing
33.
is absolutely fine.
Massachusetts, 33.
But the fact is that look,
That's where Elizabeth
we should
is
not be
from.
locking people up. We should be making sure we change the circumstance as we did, why they would leave in the first place. And those who come
November the
seeking
3rd,
asylum, we should immediately have the
year
capacity
20.
to absorb them, keep them safe until they can be heard.
A 15-second.
Or
if
in
you could, if you
Gematria
wish to
34.
answer, should someone who is here without documents, and that is his only offense, should that person be deported?
That person should not be the focus of deportation. We should fundamentally change the way we deal with them.
Senator,
I want to suggest that I agree with a lot of what Kamala just said. And that is, on day one, we take out our executive order pen and we rescind every damn thing on this issue that Trump has done. Number two,
You're burning.
the children. We got to look at the root causes. And you have a situation where Honduras, among other things, is a failing state. Massive corruption. You got gangs who are telling families that if a 10-year-old does not join that gang, that family is going to be killed. What we have got to do on day
crazy.
one is invite the presidents and the leadership of Central America and Mexico together. This is a hemispheric problem that we have got to
Congressman
address.
Swalwell, what do you
You
do?
can't continue like that, that's for sure.
No. If someone is here without documents, and that is their only offense, is that person to be deported?
No, that person can be a part of this great American experience. That person can contribute. My congressional district is one of the most diverse in America, and we see the benefits when people contribute and they become a part of the community and they're not in the shadow economy. Day one for me, families are reunited. This president, though, for immigrants, there's nothing he will not do to separate a family, cage a child, or erase their existence by weaponizing the census. And there is nothing that we cannot do in the courts and that I will not do as president to reverse that and to make sure that families always belong together.
Senator Harris.
Well, thank you. I will say, no, absolutely not. They should not be deported. And I actually, this was one of the very few issues with which I disagreed with the administration, with whom I otherwise had a great relationship and a great deal of respect. But on the secure communities issue, I was Attorney General of California. I led the second largest Department of Justice in the United States, second only to the United States Department of Justice in a state of 40 million people. And on this issue, I disagreed with my president because the policy was to allow deportation of people who by ICE's own definition were non-criminals. So as Attorney General and the Chief Law Officer of the state of California, I issued a directive to the sheriffs of my state that they did not have to comply with detainers and instead should make decisions based on the best interest of public safety of their community. Because what I saw, and I was tracking it every day, I was tracking it and saw that parents, people who had not committed a crime, even by ICE's own definition, were being deported. But I have to add a point here. The problem with this kind of policy, and I know it as a prosecutor, I want a rape victim to run in the middle of the street and wave down a police officer and report the crime against her. I want anybody who has been the victim of any real crime to be able to do that and not be afraid that if they do that, they will be deported because the abuser will tell them it is wrong. It is wrong.
We're going to turn to the issue of trade now, if we can. Last night we asked the candidates on this
Who got a
stage
red card?
geopolitical threat facing the U.S. 4 of them
Paraguay.
mentioned China. U.S. businesses say China steals our intellectual property, and party leaders on both sides
How
use
is
China
Brazil doing?
of manipulating their currency to keep the
Not many
cost of goods
shots.
artificially
See if
low.
they score a
I'll ask this to
goal.
Senator Bennett to start off with. How would you stand up to China?
I think that, first of all, the biggest threat to our national security right now is Russia, not China. And second, on China, we've got competition because of what they've done with our election. In China, I think the president.
What's Meghan McCain up to right now?
On China, but
I have
it's
no
done
idea.
it completely the wrong way. We should mobilize the entire rest of the world, who all have a shared interest in pushing back on China's mercantilist trade policies, and I think we can do that. I'd like to answer the other question before this as well.
Do you have the time?
When I see these kids at the border, I see my mom because I know she sees herself, because she was separated from her parents for years during the Holocaust in Poland. And for Donald Trump to be doing what he's doing to children and their families at the borders, I say this as somebody who wrote the immigration bill in 2013 that created a pathway to citizenship for 11 million people in this country, that had the most progressive DREAM Act that's ever been conceived, much less passed.
I'm not buying that. This is all for votes. If the Democratic Party still wins the majority of the elections when they have high turnout to begin with, all of this is just so corporations can hire people on pennies of the dollar. That's what it's all about. So corporate America most certainly is behind this. Not even getting back in line. I mean, it's called like getting back in line. Just like you cut in front, get back in the line, right? Ship them back, and then get back in line.
Well, I just want to agree that I think Russia's.
Don't just kick him out for good. Just hey, get back in line.
Successfully, they've been laughing their asses off about it for the last couple of years. So we should focus on that before we start worrying about other threats. Now, China, they do power intellectual property. It's a massive problem. But the tariffs and the trade war are just punishing businesses and producers and workers on both sides. I met with a farmer in Iowa who said he spent 6 years building up a buying relationship in China that's now disappeared and gone forever. And the
See what Trump has done to these farmers. Embarrassing.
People in China, it's been Southeast Asia and other producers that have then stepped into the void. So we need to crack down on Chinese.
He is a disgrace to the office of the presidency. It's an absolute disgrace.
How would you stand up against China?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we got to recognize that the China.
And the people who said Trump was going to win, they didn't say why, of course. They're just being retarded cheerleaders. Oh, cheer the wake on.
For the perfection.
Like, I'm not going to say Bernie's going to win just because I want him to win. Someone else is.
I live in the industrial Midwest. Folks who aren't in the shadow of a factory or somewhere near.
People with the highest IQs across the world endorse Bernie Sanders. There's direct correlation between lower IQs and Donald Trump.
Because of these tariffs. Meanwhile, China is investing.
Ones who vote for him happen to be affected the most. Guys who support him just vote against their own interests. Like Donald Trump doesn't care about these old white people. He just wanted their vote. That's all he wanted. His old life is never coming back unless if the Democrats create tens of thousands of well-paying jobs with the new Green Deal. Which is what America needs, by the way. We need a new Green Deal. We need to invest in renewable energy here in America, export it out to the rest of the world. We need a big master plan to do that. Keep America going. If Warren doesn't win it, then you blame the people who control the whole thing, which is the elites. We will have a female. We will have the Wonder Woman in the White House. We will. She will make history. The only person to stand up to Donald Trump on Twitter was no other than Elizabeth Warren. She was the only one who tweeted right back. I mean, that she hasn't let the Trumps of the world intimidate her at all. So I give her all that props.
2020, the place to start obviously is where the last election ended, 2016.
They play that whole segment again.
Hillary Clinton had almost 3 million more of those than Donald Trump. But we don't elect the president by national popular vote. We do it by the Electoral College. And there, Donald Trump had the right combination of votes in the right states, enough to win 306 electoral votes for him. So how is that map looking for 2020? Well, first of all, I think one thing you need to do, just understand
Gary,
how
why is it
narrow
this-
that Trump path in the electoral.
They're good. They play that damn video all the time. This debate's moving by pretty quickly, I guess. Well, it's been 1 hour, so they've got the last half to go. I hope they talk more about the economy and the tax bill and the deficits and middle class tax cuts going away. So, things are going to get fucked up even more. And the dumb idiots that think Trump is going to win just want to see total chaos in this country. Like, they want to see total chaos, and not even the elites want total chaos in America. They want to keep the people controlled. Remember, this is why Donald Trump won the election, because you had to keep the older generation in check, the old white population who fear people of color, who fear the fact that their jobs are never coming back. It was about controlling white people this past election. Now the con has happened already. And now, regardless of color, the most diversified Congress we've ever seen, record midterm victory in the House for the Democrats, the biggest flip since Watergate. Texas will not go blue, but Arizona certainly will. We are going blue, but Texas is going to stay red, at least for now. You'll probably be right 84 years from now. You'll probably be right about that. I think Arizona is next. The rapid growth of people from California, from legal citizens from Mexico, more of the share of Maricopa County here being Hispanic is going to certainly help the Democratic cause. To not vote for the party of Satan, to vote for the party of fear and bigotry and propaganda. That propaganda that got us all in Iraq was all the Republican Party. California people moved out to stars are really ruining them. Well, if you go by projected tax revenue, the thing is that cost of living is why people are moving out of California. It has nothing to do with the standard of life in California. It has everything to do with the fact that everyone wants to live at California. So, of course, demand is going to be high. Aggregate demand is going to be high when more people want to live there. When you have more people per capita, of course, it's going to be more expensive than any other place to live. These people just didn't think about it before they moved to California, I bet. High demand. California is the 5th largest economy in the world. That's a lot of people. They're not having their tax dollars going towards helping the Southern welfare queens. If you were to get rid of California from the Union, all this crap you hear about on the other side about that. They're about to kick off the debate again. I'm going to put the mute button off and hopefully they talk more economy. Oh, this is still a TV break.
So let's turn it over to Chuck Todd and Rachel Maddow.
Well,
Chuck and Rachel Maddow.
I had a dream that we've done this before.
High cost of living. It just has to do with too many people wanting to live there. I absolutely agree with that. They haven't addressed it well at all. They haven't put in good action to create really good homeless shelters. Has nothing to do with any right-wing noise about liberal policies are hurt in California, right? Nothing to do with that. High cost of living is what's causing it.
Reaction there is, the more time they will all get. Over the course of the next hour, we will hear from all of these candidates, but we are going to begin this hour with Mayor Buttigieg. In the last 5 years, civil rights activists in our country have led a national debate over race and the criminal justice system. Your community of South Bend, Indiana, has recently been in uproar over an officer-involved shooting. The police force in South Bend is now 6% black in a city that is 26% black. Why has that not improved over your 2 terms as mayor?
Because I couldn't get it done. My community is in anguish right now.
because of an officer-involved shooting. A black man, Eric Logan, killed by a white officer. And I'm not allowed to take sides until the investigation comes back. The officer said he was attacked with a knife, but he didn't have his body camera on. It's a mess, and we're hurting. And I could walk you through all of the things that we have done as a community, all of the steps that we took from bias training to de-escalation, but it didn't save the life of Eric Logan. And when I look into his mother's eyes, I have to face the fact that nothing that I say will bring him back. This is an issue that is facing our community and so many communities around the country. And until we move policing out from the shadow of systemic racism, whatever this particular incident teaches us, we will be left with the bigger problem of the fact that there's a wall of mistrust put up one racist act at a time, not just from what's happened in the past, but from what's happening around the country in the present. It threatens the well-being of every community. And I am determined to bring about a day when a white person driving a vehicle and a black person driving a vehicle, when they see a police officer approaching, feels the exact same thing, a feeling not of fear, but of safety. I'm determined to bring that day about.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If I could ask one question, just because I think,
Governor, I'll give you 30 seconds.
I think that the question they're asking in South Bend, I think it sees across the country, is why has it taken so long? We had a shooting when I first became mayor 10 years before Ferguson, and the community came together. We created an Office of the Independent Monitor, a Civilian Oversight Commission. We diversified the police force in 2 years. We actually did de-escalation training. I think the real question that America should be asking is why 5 years after Ferguson, every city doesn't have this level of police accountability.
Governor Hickenlooper.
I've got to respond to that. Look, we've taken so many steps toward police accountability that the FOP just denounced me for too much accountability. We're obviously not there yet. And I accept responsibility for that because I'm in charge.
Policy, you should fire the chief.
So under Indiana law, this will be investigated and there will be accountability for the officer.
But you're the mayor, you should fire the chief if that's the policy and someone died.
All of these issues are extremely important, but there are specifics, there are symptoms, and the underlying cause has to do with deep realms of racial injustice, both in our criminal justice system and in our economic system. And the Democratic Party should be on the side of reparations for slavery for this very reason. I do not believe that the average American is a racist. But the average American is woefully undereducated about the history of race in the United States.
Ms. Williamson, thank you very much.
Vice President Biden, we're going to get to you. Hang on, we're going to get
Stage, I would like to speak.
I think reparations are necessary. People living today just weren't perpetuated with all these acts that happened in the past.
So, on the issue of race,
I'm against reparations.
This is an issue that is
I'm
still
against
not being
it.
talked about truthfully
Period.
and honestly. There is not a black man I know, be he a relative, a friend, or a coworker, who has not been the subject of some form of profiling or discrimination. Growing up, my sister and I had to deal with the neighbor who told us her parents couldn't play with us because we were black. And I will say also that in this campaign, we've also
Race is still an issue
and I'll
today.
direct this at
It still
Vice
affects a lot of
President
people.
Biden. I do not believe you are a racist. And I
The
agree
Republican
with
Party
you
ignores it, of
when
course.
you commit yourself
They act
to
like we
importance of
moved
finding
on
common
entirely,
ground. But
which has
I
not been the
also
case.
believe- and it's personal.
Even
and
though-
it was hurtful.
Even
To
though
hear
back
you
then,
talk about the
it seemed like it really was.
of two United States
And you couldn't
senators
get
who
rid
put their
of feelings of prejudice from
reputations
even the
and
older
career on the
generations.
segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also
Reparations
represent
just a
so-called
waste.
busing.
The money is
And,
better
you know,
used
there
on
was a
other
little
things that are
girl
going to
in
benefit this
California
country, like healthcare
who was
with
part of the
revamped
second
infrastructure
class
that help
to integrate the
facilitate
public school.
commerce and
And she was
business,
bused to
raising the
school
wages of
every
the
day.
workers,
And that little girl was me.
getting rid of
So, I will tell you
estate
that
tax
on this
repeal. The
subject,
Republicans want to do that. I
cannot
don't think it
be
ever
an
made it into the
intellectual
tax
debate
bill,
among
but they
Democrats.
certainly
We have to
did.
take it seriously. We have to act swiftly. As Attorney General of California, I was very proud to put in place a requirement that all my
Criminal
special agents would
category.
wear body cameras and keep those cameras
But
on.
Warren's gonna win the election for sure. Absolutely. I'd be really surprised if she does it. different narrative this time around in 2016 to a slight degree. It's pretty clear
My position across the board, I do not praise
that a woman will not be bullied by Donald Trump this election.
have this campaign litigated.
Why are you saying that again?
Whether I did or not.
Not making sense.
I was a public defender.
You're making no sense with that asinine statement. Blame me for ruining Warren's campaign? What kind of retarded shit is that?
My city was in flames.
Oh, you're funny, man. That was a funny comment.
Number one.
Everything else kind of spot on, except for that last one.
I work with a man who
CFPB,
very hard to see to
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau,
the fact is that
advocated by Elizabeth Warren during her time at Harvard. That's a really interesting fact. Academia, Harvard, Woodrow Wilson was the one that stood out to me.
That we should be breaking down these lines. But so the bottom line here is, look.
Academia, Gematria, 28. That's pretty easy to predict too. Academia, 28. Elizabeth Warren, 28.
Not just only African Americans, but the LGBT community.
Year 28. Last year.
Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America? Then, do you agree?
I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed.
Well, there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. I was part of the second class to integrate Berkeley, California public schools almost 2 decades after Brown v. Board of Education.
Because your city council made that decision. It was
So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have the
Joe Biden's raising his voice.
That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail.
No one can out progressive Bernie Sanders.
From the very beginning, when I ran
about 30 seconds, because I want to bring other people in.
I supported the ERA from the very beginning. I'm the guy that extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years. We got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States Senate doing it. I've also argued very strongly that we, in fact, deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box. I agree that everybody, once they, in fact, they should. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Vice President.
All of these things.
Senator Sanders, I'm going to go to you on this. You said on the day you launched your campaign that voters should focus on what people stand for, not a candidate's race or age or sexual orientation. Many Democrats are very excited by the diversity of this field on this stage and on last night's stage.
Well, yeah, America as a whole is excited that we have more people representing the general demographics of America. Democratic Party has done so. Republican Party needs to really integrate itself to more than just whites, or else going to completely collapse.
That's what America is about. But in addition to
Donald Trump was a step back for the Republican Party.
From the LGBT community, we also have to do something else, and that is we have to ask ourselves a simple question, and that how come today the worker in the middle of our economy is making no more money than he or she made 45 years ago, and that in the last 30 years, the top 1% has seen a $21 trillion increase.
That 50 years ago,
we need a party that is diverse.
one person could provide for the entire family and have a quality standard of life. Today, 2 primary providers of a household are just struggling to get by. So don't listen to these right-wing lunatics out there who tell you that, oh, we have less income inequality, that the wealth is going down to the working class. These people are delusional. All that debt you assume just to get higher education, how's that creating wealth? We are growing slower than in the past.
Republican funded elections, to have clean elections. If we do that and get money out of politics, we can guarantee healthcare is a right, not a privilege. We can deal with institutional racism. We can take on income inequality, and we can take on the corporate corruption that runs Washington.
The first constitutional amendment to do that was introduced by me when I was a young senator.
Thank you, Vice President. We want to shift topics here. Senator Bennett, the next question is for you. On the issue of partisan gridlock,
President Obama promised in 2012 that after his reelection, Republicans would want to work with Democrats. Fever would break. That did not happen. Now, Vice President Biden is saying the same thing, that if he is elected in 2020, both parties will want to work together. Should voters believe that somehow if there's a Democratic president in 2021, that gridlock is going to magically disappear?
Gridlock will not magically disappear as long as Mitch McConnell is there first.
As long as you got corporate Democrats and Republicans, as long as you completely go away from the party of Eisenhower to party of Reagan and destruction and pillaging of the wealth of the middle class, then absolutely yes.
That can be supported like Medicare Act so that we can build a broad coalition of Americans to overcome broken Washington, D.C. I agree with what Senator Gillibrand was saying and share a lot of her views. We need to end gerrymandering in Washington. We need to end political gerrymandering in Washington. The court today said they couldn't do anything about it. We need to overturn Citizens United.
Republicans are like, oh, the court is legislating everything.
The attack on voting rights in Shelby versus Holder is something we need to deal with. All of those things has happened since Vice President Biden was in the Senate. And we face structural problems that we have to overcome with a broad coalition. It's the only way we can do it. We need to root out the corruption in Washington, expand people's right to get to the polls, and I think that we can succeed.
Vice President Biden, 30 seconds. It does sound as if you haven't seen what's been happening in the United States Senate over the last 12 years. It didn't happen. Why?
I have seen what happened just since we were vice president. We needed 3 votes to pass an $800 billion recovery act that kept us from going into depression. I got 3 votes changed. We needed to be able to keep the government from shutting down and going bankrupt. I got Mitch McConnell to raise taxes $600 billion by raising the top rate. And as recently as after President got elected, I was able to put together a coalition in the Cures Act that billions of dollars go into cancer research, bipartisan. But sometimes you can't do that. Sometimes you just have to go out and beat them. I went into 20 states, over 60 candidates, and guess what? We beat them. We won back the Senate.
Thank you.
Chuck, the problem with what
30 seconds. 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Sometimes you do have to beat him, but the deal that he talked about with Mitch McConnell was a complete victory for the Tea Party. It extended the Bush tax cuts permanently. The Democratic Party had been running against that for 10 years. We lost that economic argument because that deal.
Center-right Democrats kept on the Bush tax cuts.
Put in place the mindless cuts that we still are dealing with today that are called the sequester.
Corporate
that was
Democrats.
A great deal for Mitch McConnell. It was a terrible deal for America.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. Great. Go ahead. 30
Now,
seconds.
the reason why the Trump tax cut had to be passed is because they had to pay back their donors. You heard it. They actually said those words. So the corruption in Washington is real. And it is something that makes every one of the plans we've heard about over the last several months impossible. And I have the most comprehensive approach to do it with clean elections, publicly funded elections. So we restore the power of our democracy into the hands of the voters, not into the Koch brothers. We were talking about issues. Imagine, we're in Florida. Imagine the Parkland kids having as much power in our democracy as the Koch brothers or the NRA. Imagine their voices carrying farther and wider than anyone else because their voice is needed.
Senator
And
Gilman, I'm trying to
as
get everybody
president
here.
is the first thing I'm going to do because nothing else is possible, whether it's education or healthcare or ending institutional
Thank you very
racism.
much.
Sanders, I'd like to put a different question to you. Roe versus Wade has been the law of the land since 1973. Now that there is a conservative majority on the Supreme Court, several Republican-controlled states have passed laws to severely restrict or even ban abortion. One of those laws could very well make it to the Supreme Court during your presidency, if you're elected president. What is your plan if Roe is struck down in the court while you're president?
Well, my plan is somebody who believes for a start that a woman's right to control her own body is a constitutional right, that government and politicians should not infringe on that right.
See, Republicans like big government. They want to control the world of a woman.
Second of all, let me
See?
make a promise here. You ask about
those
litmus tests.
civil
My
wars.
litmus test is I will never appoint
Republican Party is the ultimate mark of the beast, more so than Democrats.
unless that justice is 100%
Democrats just right along with it.
will defend Roe v. Wade.
They're part of the corporatocracy. Republican Party is worse. Libertarians are worse than Democrats. Libertarian Party is far worse than any center-right Democrat would ever be.
Judges to other courts. And that brings in new blood into the Supreme Court and a majority, I hope, that will understand that a woman has the right to control her own body and that corporations cannot run the United States of America.
I'm going to give you 10 additional seconds because the question is, what if the court has already overturned Roe and Roe is gone? All of the things you just described would be to try to preserve Roe. If Roe is gone, what could you do as president to preserve abortion rights?
Well, first of all, let me tell you this. Didn't come up yet, but let's face this. Medicare for all guarantees every woman in this country the right to have an abortion if she wants it.
Thank you, Senator.
And can I just address this for a second? And I want to talk directly to America's women and to the men who love them. Women's reproductive rights are under assault by President Trump and the Republican Party. 30 states are trying to overturn Roe v. Wade right now. And it is mind-boggling to me that we are debating this on this stage in 2019 among Democrats, whether women should have access to reproductive rights. I think we have to stop playing defense and start playing offense. But let me tell you one thing about politics, because it goes to the corruption and the deal-making. When the door is closed and the negotiations are made, there are conversations about women's rights, and compromises have been made on our backs. That's how we got to Hyde. That's how the Hyde Amendment was created, a compromise by leaders of both parties. Then we have the ACA. During the ACA negotiation, I had to fight like heck with other women to make sure that contraception wasn't sold down the river or abortion services. And so what we need to know is, imagine this one question. When we beat President Trump and Mitch McConnell walks into the Oval Office, God forbid, to do negotiations, who do you want when that door closes to be sitting behind that desk to fight for women's rights? I have been the fiercest advocate for women's reproductive freedom for over a decade. And I promise you, as president, when that door closes, I will guarantee women's reproductive freedom no matter what.
Thank you. We're moving to climate, guys. Senator Harris, I'm addressing you first on this. You live in a state that has been hit by drought, wildfires, flooding. Climate change is a major concern for voters in your state. It's pretty obvious. Obviously, this state as well. Last night, voters heard many of the candidates weigh in on their proposals.
Oh, it's just
Explain
so disgusting.
Well, first of all, I don't even call it climate change. It's a climate crisis. It represents an existential threat to us as a species. And the fact that we have a president of the United States who has embraced science fiction over science fact will be to our collective peril. I visited while the embers were smoldering the wildfires in California. I spoke with firefighters who were in the midst of fighting a fire while their own homes were burning. And on
more airtime to Kamala. I see Kamala and Elizabeth are going to duke it out here.
And before us right now. That is why I support a Green New
They got
Deal.
the day for the
It is why
national
I believe
convention,
one day
so I can do a
and as
preview of that
president
as
will
well.
re-enter us in the Paris Agreement.
I could probably do that if
We have
it's
to take
rigged
these issues
ahead of time.
seriously.
Absolutely.
And frankly, we have a president of the United States. We talked about, you asked before, what is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I agree, climate change represents an existential threat. He denies the science. You want to talk about North Korea? Real threat in terms of nuclear arsenal, but what does he do? He embraces Kim Jong-un, a dictator for the sake of a photo op. Putin, you want to talk about Russia? He takes the word of the Russian president over the word of the American intelligence community when it comes to a threat to our democracy and our elections.
Thank you, Senator
These
Harris.
are the issues that are before us, Chuck.
I hear you. Thank you, Senator Harris. Mayor Buttigieg, in your climate plan,
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
if you're elected president in your first term, how is this going to help farmers impacted by climate change in the Midwest?
Well, the reality is we need to begin adapting right away, but we also can't skip a beat on preventing climate change from getting even worse. It's why we need aggressive and ambitious measures. It's why we need to do a carbon tax and dividend. But I would propose we do it in a way that is rebated out to the American people in a progressive fashion so that most Americans are made more than whole. This isn't theoretical for us in South Bend either. Parts of California on fire, right here in Florida, they're talking about sea level rise. Well, in Indiana, I had to activate the Emergency Operations Center of our city twice in less than 2 years. First time was a 1,000-year flood, and the next time was a 500-year flood. This is not just happening on the Arctic ice caps. This is happening in the middle of the country. And we've got to be dramatically more aggressive moving forward. Now, here's what very few people talk about. First of all, rural America can be part of the solution instead of being told they're part of the problem. With the right kind of soil management and other kind of investments, rural America could be a huge part of how we get this done. And secondly, we've got to look to the leadership of local communities. There's networks of mayors and cities from around the world who have come together, not even waiting for our national governments to catch up. We should have a Pittsburgh summit where we bring them together as well as rejoining the Paris.
Thank you, Mayor Buttigieg.
I want to bring Governor Hickenlooper into this for a moment. Governor, you have said that oil and gas companies should be a part of the solution on climate change. Lots of your colleagues on stage tonight have talked about moving away from fossil fuels entirely. Can oil and gas companies be real partners in this fight?
Well, I share the sense of urgency. I'm a scientist, so I recognize that we're within 10 or 12 years of actually, suffering irreversible damage. But guaranteeing everybody a government job is not going to get us there. So socialism, in that sense, is not the solution. We have to look at what really will make a difference. In Colorado, we're closing a couple of coal plants, replacing them with wind, solar, and batteries, and the monthly bills go down. We've gone on, we're building a network for electric vehicles. We are working with the oil and gas industry, and we've created the first methane regulations in the country. Methane is 25 times worse than CO2. And then we've got to get to that last part. The industrial, heavy industry, we haven't seen the plans yet. If you look at the real problem, CO2, the worst polluters in CO2 is China, is the United States, and then it's concrete and it's exhalation. And beyond that, I think we've got to recognize that only by bringing people together, businesses, nonprofits, and we can't demonize every business. We've got to bring them together to be part of this thing, because ultimately, if we're not able to do that, we will be doomed to failure. We have no way of doing this without bringing everyone together.
Thank you. Vice President Biden, on the issue of how you do this, Democrats are arguing robustly among themselves about what's the best way to tackle climate change. But if we're honest, many Republicans, including the president, are still not sure if they believe it is even a serious problem. So, are there significant ways you can cut carbon emissions if you have to do it with no support from Congress?
The answer is yes. Number one, when our administration, we built the largest wind farm in the world, the largest solar.
July 13th to July the 6th.
We drove down the competitive price of both of those renewable sources. I would immediately insist that we, in fact, build 500,000 recharging stations throughout the United States of America, working with governors, mayors, and others, so that we can go to a full electric vehicle future by the year 2020, or by the year 2030. I would make sure that we invested $400 million in new science and technology to be the exporter, not only of the green economy, but economy that can create millions of jobs. But I would immediately join the Paris Climate Accord. I would up the ante in that accord, which it calls for, because we make up 15% of the problem. 85% of the world makes up the rest. And so we have to have someone who knows how to corral the rest of the world, bring them together, and get something done like we did in our administration.
Senator Sanders, I want to give you 30 seconds to follow up, and I'm going to hold you to 30.
Look, the old ways are no longer relevant. The scientists tell us we have 12 years before there is irreparable damage to this planet. This is a global issue. What the President of the United States should do is not deny the reality of climate change, but tell the rest of the world that instead of spending $1.5 trillion on weapons of destruction, let us get together for the common enemy, and that is to transform the world's energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. The future of the planet rests on us doing that.
Before we leave this topic,
Here's the solution. Pass the torch. Pass the torch to the generation that's going to feel the effects of climate change. Pass the torch to the generation that's invented enough.
before we leave this topic, here's something you all want to weigh in on. Hold on a moment.
campaign for the Republican Party.
Hold one moment.
Just trust us on
Because
this.
somebody
We're
has a
gonna,
younger body doesn't mean you don't have old ideas.
No, we do.
John Kennedy
Real
did
quick.
not say, I have a plan to get a man to the moon, and so we're going to do it, and I think we can all work together, and maybe we can get a man on the moon. When John Kennedy said, by the end of this decade, we are going to put a man on the moon. Because John Kennedy was back in the day when politics included the people, it included imagination, and included great dreams, and included great plans. And I have had a career not making the political plans, but I've had a career harnessing the inspiration and the motivation and the excitement of people,
Thank you,
masses
Ms.
of people. When we know that when we say we are going to turn from a dirty economy to a clean economy, we're going to have a Green New Deal, we're going to create millions of jobs, we're going to do this within the next 12 years, because I'm not interested in just winning the next election. We are
Thank you, Ms.
interested in our
All
grandchildren.
right, we're gonna sneak in a break in a minute, but before we go, I'm gonna go down the line here and I'm asking you, please, for 1 or 2 words only. All right, please.
Really?
President Obama in his first year wanted to address both healthcare and climate. And he could only get one signature issue accomplished. It was obviously healthcare. He didn't get to do climate change. You may only get one shot, and your first issue that you're going to push, you get one shot that it may be the only thing you get passed. What is that first issue for your presidency? Eric Swalwell, you're first.
For Parkland, for Orlando, for every community affected by gun violence, ending gun violence.
Senator Bennett.
Climate change and the lack of economic mobility Bernie talks about.
Senator Jenkins.
Passing a family bill of rights that includes a national paid leave plan, universal pre-K, affordable daycare, and making sure that women and families can thrive in the workplace no matter who they are.
I like that. Okay,
And so passing a middle class and working families tax cut,
That's wonderful.
DACA, guns.
Oh, I'm giving you credit for the first thing you said, the tax cut. I got you. Senator Sanders, first thing.
The premise that there's only 1 or 2 issues out there.
I'm not saying there's 1 or 2.
Enormous crises.
Senator
We need
Sanders.
a political revolution. People have got to stand up and take on the special interest. We can transform this country.
Vice President Biden, your first issue, Mr. Vice President.
I think you're so underestimating what Barack Obama did. He's the first man to bring together the entire world, 196 nations, to commit to deal with climate change immediately.
I like that part. Trump got us out of the Paris Accord. Get back in it.
What I would do is make sure that we defeat Donald Trump.
Okay. Mayor Buttigieg, your first priority, your first issue as president that you were going to block and tackle.
We got to fix our democracy before it's too late. Get that right. Climate, immigration, taxes, and every other issue gets better.
Mr. Yang.
I would pass a $1,000 freedom dividend for every American adult starting at age 18, which would speed us up on climate change, because if you get the boot off of people's throats, they'll focus on climate change much more clearly.
Governor Hickenlooper.
Ding, ding, ding.
Opposed to climate change, and I would pronounce it well before the election to make sure we don't re-elect the worst president in American history.
Worst one out there. I completely agree with that.
New Zealand, who said that her goal is to make New Zealand the place where it's the best place in the world for a child to grow up. And I will tell her girlfriend you were so on, because the United States of America is going to be the best place in the world for a child to grow up.
You know,
We are going to have
you guys were close with the short, at least it was shorter response.
Not at all.
All right, C minus.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with these candidates right after this.
Much better than any Republican debate. At least they keep it civil. I've gathered up all my notes already, and I've pretty much said what I've needed to say. So I'm out the door, and I will come out with the National Convention video, and I'm going to come out with the video on the female chromosome pair and how that ties into the year 2020. The best action
All right, well, I'd like
is yet
say
to come.
Donald Trump will be something he was not on election day 2016. That is,
Okay, so always back from war. The best is yet to come. 2020 U.S. election coverage. I'm going to link here You can see all 4 videos. Playlist. First one, stock market crash, tariffs. All these 4 videos, take a look at them, and the best is yet to come.